Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Tom Suvansri, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm so excited for our time together. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story. And our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today. And then we want to talk about what you and your company are doing specifically to help people preserve their wealth. Okay?
Oh, short story. Yeah. So thank Mike. I'm really appreciative of being on the show. I love your stuff. So thanks for letting me kind of hang out with you for a little bit. Yeah. My story starts, I was born in Lower Merion, Pennsylvania. The only other person that was famous that anyone knows was Kobe Bryant was around there. Right. And
There you
I
go.
was born here. My parents immigrated from Thailand here. That's a whole nother sort of sets of stories which are incredible. But that my father came here as a physician and trained here to basically give his family a better chance at life. And so he came here all by himself, not knowing the language, and set up shop. Went through some painful years in school, and had the courage, and he set our family on a course that I got the benefit by being born here, right,
That's
in this
awesome.
wonderful country. So he had to practice for a long time, and I was born here and raised in a small suburb in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia.
That's
Really a tremendous, diverse environment. Got to see so much of a success, people with some wealth, some not. Got a very diverse sort of group of people I grew up with. Everyone looked different, which was cool, except for no one looked like me. It's like
right.
a Thai. There's a lot of Asian folks, but I didn't meet another Thai person for years growing up,
Hmm.
which was crazy. But so going through the school there was great, good school systems and everything. And as I migrated into college, which I was, you're supposed to follow the path, right? Go to school, get good grades, all that fun stuff. Learned, thought I was going to follow my father's path and realized that was not for me. That was not going to be me. And so I figured out after a lot of different things, getting into business and finance over the years in grad school, and landed at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals
Wow.
for 20 years doing finance, operations, marketing, you name it, in this behemoth of a company.
Mhm.
And only a couple years ago left it, right, to start my practice called Perennial Pride.
Mhm.
And through the course of that learning, living in a job for so long that wasn't bad,
Mhm.
wasn't super fulfilling. It served a purpose, but I knew I had another calling to go somewhere else and do
Yeah.
something. And so I started learning more about finance along the way, and helping my own family build and protect wealth. And it was not surprised, Mike. A lot of the stuff I was learning was opposite as to what the wealthy were doing, right? All the advisors were telling me certain things that were keeping control of my wealth. Um, not a bad thing. They're just trying to help. But a lot of the things they were telling me, I kind of learned that the wealthy were doing the opposite,
Mhm.
and that's how they were building and leveraging their wealth to grow generational wealth.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, I can help people do that. I've learned it
Yeah.
from myself. I learned it from my family, and now I have a calling to go share it with others that can do that for their own families,
Oh,
right? So
that's
that's
cool.
where I am today at Perennial Pride.
That's awesome. Okay, so if it's okay with you, we're going to back up just a little bit. Okay. So growing up, and you said it was Lower Merion?
So I was born in Lower Merion, Pennsylvania, but then I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which was
Cherry
right
Hill, New
outside.
Jersey. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So growing up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, what was your favorite thing about growing up there?
Oh my God. Um, it was, I got into sports early and, as a young kid, just and that's how you made friends and build a connection. And I played sports all through high school and built up I just love sports. I love teams. I mean, that's why I'm just naturally love that environment to be competing and being around others with common goals. And I remember those days. It was just beautiful because I played sports every season, but it was the way it connected with community,
Mhm.
right? And friendship and competition and learn how to work as a team and continue to grow and build up my skills. And so I reflect on it quite a bit that those sports really help breed the kind of person I am in terms of how I think about life and teams and progression and growth. And
So
so, it was just a wonderful experience.
what sports did you play?
I played baseball, basketball, football, all through high school. And it was, I'm not a big guy, but there's just some things I'm gifted at. I have just
Mm.
tremendous hand-eye coordination. I'm never the biggest, strongest guy, but things just came naturally
Yeah.
and in high school. And so we just had so much fun and, connected with so many great people that I still today I'm friends with. So I always tell my kids, careful, you might be hanging out with your friends here for the next 50 years of your life.
Yeah. No kidding. Choose wisely, right?
Yeah, use wisely.
So, question for you. As you were growing up, did you have a favorite sport?
Oh, football was my thing. It
Yeah.
was just it was just something I grew up playing and just naturally was good at it, enjoyed it. I did played a lot of street ball with friends and picked up a lot of skills. And I didn't start playing organized sport football till high school. And
Yeah.
it led me up to, I ended up becoming the captain of the team in junior and senior year.
Wow.
Um, and then played a little bit in college too,
What position
from
did you play?
wide receiver and defensive back.
There you go.
So
Cool.
yeah, so it
Did you
was,
guys play Iron Man?
what's that?
Did you play Iron Man football? Or
Iron Man football.
did you play both offense and defense at the same time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so you had a smaller school,
yeah.
smaller group. Yeah.
We were
That's
we
what my son did.
yeah, we were a pretty big school, but, once you obviously get that level, they gotta get the best players out there, so we had to play both sides, a bunch of people.
That's cool,
Um,
dude. That's
yeah,
really
so
cool.
it was fun. It was super fun.
So, in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
No. I hated school. I was not I was not the sweetest kinda guy. It was amazing. Coming from you hear all these stories around Asian parents, and my parents were so laid back. They wasn't the helicopter, parents. Sometimes I wish they would kick my ass on occasion.
Yeah,
But, no, I was really not into because sports and social life, being a kid,
yeah,
that's what you get wrapped up in, and school was kind of a secondary, tertiary priority for me. But it was funny because my brother, who was a year older than me, super smart, studious. He's that model guy from a school perspective, but I just wasn't that guy. I had enough smarts. I was above average intelligence. I just didn't stick with me.
there's wasn't anything that you dug, right? Yeah,
No, it wasn't. And not until I got to college would I'd start getting a little serious about it.
gotcha. So, growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
I would have to say was my coach on the football team. Really, he was almost like my father, although he was a tremendous man, very bright. He was a workaholic type of guy. He wasn't really always around all that much, right? His job, position wise, was to make money for the
Mhm,
family. It wasn't to raise kids, really. It
yeah,
wasn't his goal. It wasn't his priority. And I don't begrudge him at all. That was his job.
mhm,
And so never really close to him growing up all that much. And so I glommed onto other figures in my life that were there that gave that level of support and attention that my father never gave me.
yeah,
Right. And I don't blame him. It's just the way he was.
yeah. It's
So
amazing how that works, though. I mean,
yeah.
you find a way, right? You find a person. So, when you after you graduate from high school, you decide to go to college. Where do you go to college?
So I went to a college called College in New Jersey. At the time, it was called Trenton State College, a small state college in New Jersey, to play football. Right, that was
Okay,
my priority. It wasn't about going to school.
I got you. So they recruited
So
you to play football?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So I recruited to
cool.
play there. It's Division III small school, and it was fun, right? And I just, as I got into it, realized this is almost like a part-time, not a part-time job. It was a job.
Yeah,
And
no
now
kidding.
I totally respect the folks who are at like high level Division I to schools. It is a pretty onerous task to kind of maintain that sort of schedule. Then I started realizing school was getting more important. I was never going to be a pro. It wasn't where I was going, and certainly started transitioning to actually getting serious about school.
Gotcha. So what'd you major in school?
Biology and chemistry. So I thought I was going to be
Pre-med.
following, right? I didn't know anything. I didn't think
Yeah,
about it. And I was good at it once I focused, but it wasn't any level of passion for me at all. It was just kind of what I was supposed to do.
was there a moment that was there a moment that basically made up your mind that it wasn't for you?
It was it's scary to think it was close after when I was about to graduate. I said, "This is not." I mean, I'm close to the end. Let's just finish this.
Yeah,
But I knew it wasn't going to be my future. And I just came to grips with that pretty soon. So, to get a job after in the field for a while and research, but it just confirmed what I already knew, that this wasn't
yeah,
for me.
I got you.
But, you
So
do
how do
what you
you
need
end
to.
up at Pfizer?
So I went back to business. So I never took a business class in my life, all even through college, right?
Right?
And so at the time, everyone was going to business school.
Yeah,
So me being a dumb kid, I was like, okay, let's just follow the herd
right?
and go to business school. And I ended up going to Penn State for business. And before I went to my first class at school, I took an accounting class in the summertime.
Yeah,
First, first exposure. And I was like, wow, this makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
It just clicked. And I'm
yeah.
like, this is probably where I should be. And as I got into business school, started learning it, really enjoyed it, and then connected to finance. I like that side of things. And that's kind of where I took it. And so
Couple questions.
yeah,
Number one, when you were at Trenton State, what was the single most important thing you learned going to school there?
I would have to say uh, it took me a little while to get to it. But when I started to really focus my attention, I could see the kind of what I could do,
Yeah,
certainly in the schoolroom, right? And same with in the football sort of arena, that I was once you can focus, you can really excel. But like really having to hyper focus where the pros get to,
yeah,
right? And it was tough at the time because I was trying to do everything, social life, school, and football, everything. It was just so many things, brats and all this stuff. But really, when I started to really hyper focus, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it takes to be great at something, right? And so as I started getting into school, I'm like, oh, I could do this now. I wasn't a great student, but I willed myself to get there because I was like, I have to succeed here, right? I
gotcha.
can't leave this or school without a great grade and grades and so I can move on in my life.
That's a lesson that'll never leave you, you know? That cool?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
same question about Penn State. What was the single most important thing you learned going to school at Penn State? Besides the fact that the Nittany Lions flipping rule, right? My next door neighbor is a graduate or is an alum of Penn State, former Navy SEAL. Dude is as cool as all get out. Has a big Nittany Lions Penn State flag flying off the back of his
Of course.
house, right? His daughter's going to Penn State. His wife went to Penn State. I mean, come on, man.
Diversify a little. Yeah, what I learned at Penn State, I was obviously a little bit older, right? So I was a little bit more mature. I still was not remotely mature enough,
Right.
but I really, as I reflect on it, it was a little odd because obviously I was going into a completely different area, big school, learning about a subject area that was completely foreign, other than that little class of accounting I took.
Right.
I went in there like nervous as heck,
Yeah.
right? I didn't know what I'm really getting into. So, as I reflect on it, I think what I really learned is that, um, it, you know, you can learn just about anything, right? You put your mind to it. There's a lot of things that, I don't know today, but I could learn them.
Yeah.
And I proved myself in that arena to take something that topic that I knew nothing about, completely foreign, and immerse myself that you can learn it and excel in it, and just having some confidence to try it. And that has taken me to great lengths all across from finance to life and stuff, that to be open-minded about stuff, because you can learn these things. I'm not going to be a rocket scientist or something, but I can potentially if I really wanted to. But you can learn a lot of things, and having a growth mindset is a powerful tool to have for anyone in
Yeah,
their
it's
life.
amazing what you can learn when you focus, right? And you're just absolutely driven. And when you get to the place where you realize you can,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because you look at this and you look at what people have done in their lives, and a lot of the people that I look at in my life are like major entrepreneurs. They're major successes in business. They're right. And they're so unbelievably successful that it almost feels like it's not attainable.
Right.
Right. But then you sit with them and you find out that they started in a place that's way, way below where you started. Right. And I mean, you can absolutely get there, right? Once you have an opportunity. And that's one of the reasons why our podcast is about life stories, because what happens is we're now in 37 countries. You're episode number 190. We've been doing this just under 9 months. Okay. And we're going to surpass tonight 200,000 listens to our podcast,
Wow.
over 100,000 downloads. I mean, it's just, the numbers are just boggling, right? We're in 37 countries. And what's happening is we're getting fan mail from people all around the world, and they're telling us about this episode that they heard, where they heard this person's life story and they connected with them because they had the same favorite subject in high school, or their dad, they had the same type of relationship with their dad, that, you know what I mean? There's something, people are looking to connect. And what happens is they listen to your life story and they listen to kind of how everything came together, right? And they figure out that, you know what, if you just work, focus, put your head down and get after it, you can achieve whatever you want. You're the only limit, right? That's all there is. You're the only limit. So you end up at Pfizer. What makes you go to work for Pfizer?
It became one of those things. When I was at school, it was, I met with folks there, and, just sometimes you just kind of have a good connection with people,
Yeah.
right? And certainly at the time, because I still had the science background, I said, "This is maybe a good fit,"
Yeah.
right? And that. But frankly, a lot of the folks I met with, they felt, they came from Penn State. It felt just more comfortable with them and their organization. And then you go experience it, and you confirmed it, and it was great. It was great to start with, right? It was a tremendous company. They treated you great. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'd never seen this before, right? As a
Yeah.
young guy coming out in my 20s, it was a tremendous experience. And I stayed there for a long time.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? You go to Trent State, you graduate, right? You go to Penn State. So Trent State's quite a bit smaller than Penn State, I would assume. And then
Lots
you
more.
go from Penn State to Pfizer, who is a giant, right? I mean, monolithic company, right? And you had to feel, to an extent, like, okay, I'm part of this massive organization, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was crazy. It was huge, absolutely huge. Occupying multiple buildings in New York City, and
Yeah.
just, like you said, reaching across the globe, right?
Yeah.
This is a global organization with tens of thousands of, like, almost 100,000 people. Just amazing. And
Incredible.
so I felt really great about it. And I got into a program that allowed me to experience a lot of different areas of the company. So as a young person, it was great, because
Yeah.
that's what we need: exposure to things, and
Yeah.
to learn about things we never knew existed,
Right.
right? I didn't know, like, that we had a treasury center sitting in the middle of Dublin. Well, why the heck is that? Oh,
Yeah.
because of taxes and all. So you never even think about these things,
Yeah.
right? Until you get exposed to it and sort of broaden your horizon. So it was
Yeah.
really great.
Those kind of strategic moves kind of fascinate you,
Yeah,
why that's being done.
right. And it's like just somebody wielding this it's directed me around the way. So it was really a tremendous experience early. And then as I got along into the corporation, it was great. I mean, moved around in different spots, and that's the beauty of large companies for people who are thinking about where they're going next. They have a lot of opportunities, but it also the bigness can also work against itself, where
Yeah.
it's extremely tough to move or change minds, because it's like moving the Titanic.
Yeah.
It's a very different animal.
Yeah, it takes miles to turn that ship around, right? So
Absolutely.
you're at Pfizer for how long? 20 years?
20 years.
Okay. What's the single most important thing you learned working at Pfizer?
I think the biggest thing I learned is the importance of maintaining good relationships and connections with people that are, allies to you or connected to you or like-minded. There's we always hear these things. What's that term? Like your network is your net worth,
Right.
right? Really broadens your connection base, and it's so important because when switching jobs or trying to get things done, and you see this now in life, and certainly being real estate and finance, like sometimes it takes a village to do
Mhm.
things. It takes teams. It takes a
Mhm.
lot of people to coordinate efforts together. You try to do these things alone, it's impossible, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to suck, or you're going to take way longer. And so you got to be humble enough to know, hey, I maybe need help or need to support in other areas that I don't know about. But having that network over time was huge, because you can get things done faster,
Yeah.
right? And know who to talk to,
Yeah.
right? Especially in a large organization, that can be difficult.
Yeah. And you always want to stay in curiosity, right? So one of the things that I've told my kids, they're now graduated from college, both of them, and they've now started their first jobs out of college and everything. And my son works for Abbott Diagnostics, by the way.
Oh, very
Um,
nice.
yeah. So and that came from a job fair where he just connected with the recruiter, and he felt good about it. He felt good about the connection that he had, and he's been with him now. He's in his third year, so he's
Wonderful.
doing really well. So, but I tell my kids, look, you need to take a piece of paper and you need to print this out. At the top, stay in curiosity. At the bottom, stay out of judgment. Okay, don't judge, just ask. Okay. Stay in curiosity. You will be shocked, absolutely shocked, what you can learn and who you can align yourself with if all
Mm,
you do is stay curious about the people around you and stay curious about the people who are doing what you want to do, right? And pick their brain about. I mean, I get phone calls all the time from people going, "Hey, I want to pick your brain." It won't take long. It's slim pickings. You know what I mean? I have 3 brain cells left, and you're welcome to them, right? But seriously, I get phone calls from people all the time going, "Hey, you've been doing this for 32 years. What about this?" Right? And it usually only takes a few minutes, and we can sit down and diagnose it and figure out whatever it is, and they're on their way. So it just happened yesterday, twice. So
incredible.
you're at Pfizer for 20 years, and you at some point you make the decision that you're going to leave and you're going to go into the business of preserving and growing people's wealth. Talk about that process. Talk about how that comes about, because I'm going to be honest with you, not everybody does this. Okay. And what I found fascinating about your story was this is a real calling for you. This is something that I think it sounds like weighed on your heart. Like this was something that you really felt like you were making a difference by for lack of a better term, detaching from Pfizer and focusing specifically on this. And I think this is the coolest part of your story. I mean, I love your story, but I think this is the coolest part because this really does come from a place of passion. It comes from a place of caring, right? On your part, where you really do want to help people. And what's interesting is there's two sort of dialogues going on in this world, right? There's the dialogue of this is how you protect your wealth that comes to you from professionals that are in the industry. And then here's how you protect your wealth from people who are actually doing it because they have wealth to protect, right? And well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of
Yeah.
the people on this side that are professionals that are quote unquote CFP or whatever, right? They're advising you, but if you look at their net worth, it's not exactly where you want to be. These people have a net worth where you want to be, right? And it sounds like what you did was you figured out, okay, let's surround myself with people with a higher net worth and figure out what they're doing, and then take that and basically deliver it to the masses. I think that's one of the coolest things ever, ever. So talk about that process. Talk about how you had to get, what made you get to that point? Because it had to have been, it couldn't have been one of those things that was like overnight, right? It was
No.
process, right?
Yes.
Talk about
Yeah.
that.
And I'll tell you this, like the thing that lit a fire under me was right after I graduated business school. And unfortunately, my parents never, like a lot of families and people growing up, they never really educated
Mhm,
on how to manage their money,
mhm,
right? It's this very complicated thing that only a professional will help you do it. Um, and so they never learned anything about how to protect, grow their wealth, be smart about their money.
mhm,
And unfortunately, that this got a hold of them, right? A successful practice my parents ran together and basically fell apart and basically went bankrupt
hmm.
because their mismanagement of their wealth and didn't have the right advisors. And to the point when I left my business school, I checked my credit report, right, which is a responsible thing to do,
Mhm,
right, occasionally. And I had a whole bunch of debt on there. I didn't even know where it came from.
mhm.
And lo and behold, my poor mother had.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.